The BBC was captured by Black Lives Matter. Some staff are card-carrying Labour Party members who think Rishi Sunak is a fascist, and the Tories are the devil, and it might not be a great workplace for Jews. This is what leaked staff messages from inside the BBC appear to reveal. We've got leaked messages from the BBC's Global News staff messaging channel, where employees discuss current affairs amongst themselves. As the Black Lives Matter protests were taking place, the BBC's head of digital projects and delivery issued some direct actions to staff. They said, "It's important for us to go beyond the optics of being an ally at this time." They went on, "If you're a mental health first aider, there are no specific resources to help guide you in assisting people impacted by racism or the current police brutality and Black Lives Matter movement. This is a glaring omission, and it's problematic in itself. And when creating a presentation or creating a test article, please do not use articles with images and videos of violence against black people, because it's re-traumatising."
It's really important we all educate ourselves at times like this. It's our responsibility to do so, especially if we're white. Reading anti-racist texts and informing ourselves on police violence in the US are good places to start in order to better understand the impact and structural challenges of racism.
Yeah, and they went on.
There are lots of good reading lists on the internet at the moment. Here are some good examples. I'd like to offer to organise and facilitate a book club for these texts specifically.
I mean, they wanted staff to be re-educated. Other comments from BBC employees, all written since October 2023, described the Conservatives as evil, Rishi Sunak as a fascist. They also engaged in conspiracy theory chat about him calling off a general election for fake national security reasons. One staff member said the Lib Dems got into bed with the devil when Nick Clegg partnered with David Cameron. Another staff member reveals that they are a Labour Party member and that they felt the BBC was racially attacking them for running a story about a black football player being pro-Palestine.
As a black person, I'm feeling bullied by the BBC, my employer, for being black. To clarify, I'm not saying that the BBC is bullying me for being black. I'm just feeling that they are. I am a member of the Labour Party, and there is a division of views on Gaza. This is a news story, but a black guy posting his sympathy for other black people is not a story.
One Jewish employee appears to reveal that behind the scenes at the BBC there is a heck of a lot of rabid pro-Palestine chat, which is hardly a shock considering the BBC were reluctant to call Hamas terrorists.
Why I'm saying this is that the BBC staff have a variety of experiences, and I would ask that perhaps on a topic that involves so much horrific death and destruction, please be sensitive to fellow staff who are suffering right now. We are also persecuted minorities who watched our friends die in the most horrific ways. I won't repeat here, but we are suffering greatly.
Hyper-woke, left-leaning, critical race theory engaging, anti-Tory tosh there from BBC staff. Having said that, I bet that didn't come as too much of a shock to you though, did it? We reached out to the BBC for comment and a BBC spokesperson said, "We are aware of the content of a small number of posts on an internal messaging app and we are reviewing these." Thanks, guys. Well, joining me tonight to discuss all of this is news reporter, the man who unearthed this, Steve Edgington. Steve, good to see you. Right, I mean, this is, I would argue, quite rampant bias right at the heart of the BBC. I mean, they were completely captured by BLM.
Not only does it show rampant bias internally, and the views of staff may not be surprising to our viewers, actually some of these comments are extremely out there. They're spreading conspiracy theories. Rishi Sunak is going to cancel the election using a war scare with Russia, but arguably they're also anti-Semitic. The comments that you were referring to were defending the phrase "from the river to the sea," which is widely seen as an anti-Semitic chant to destroy Israel. And another BBC staffer said it was simplistic to call Hamas the baddies when you're comparing them to Israel. And I think when you've got a conflict in which one side are explicitly genocidal and murdering over 1,000 Jewish civilians last year on October 7th, calling them the baddies isn't simplistic, it's just true.
Oh, absolutely. And they said they'll do it again as well. Look, Stephen, in your view, what does this actually mean in terms of actually affecting the BBC's output? Because these were members of the current affairs news team, is that right?
There's a wide variety of staff who are involved in these chats. Not all of them were journalists. Some of them were things like software engineers. And these people, some of whom work behind the scenes on the BBC. But the interesting thing is that they're trying to apply editorial pressure on journalists, on editors, on producers to change the BBC's output by describing the BBC's output as racist. And we've seen in other messages that are describing BBC News articles as transphobic. They're clearly trying to apply pressure to their bosses, which is totally incorrect. And also, you've got to remember, these messages are available to all BBC staff. All 5,000 BBC staff can see this stuff. And the BBC constantly calls for social media companies to moderate their content for disinformation and for spreading conspiracy theories. Yet when the BBC staff do it themselves on their own internal platforms, they're allowed to do it without any moderation. And this suggests, some people are saying, that BBC editors actually condone this stuff. Why aren't the BBC getting involved? Why have the BBC taken 3 days to send us a comment for this story? This is the first. We've done 3 stories on this. This is the first time in literally the last hour they've sent us something about it. They clearly don't take it seriously whatsoever.
Look, Stephen, thank you very, very much. That's Stephen Edgerton there. Make sure that you follow him, of course, and GB News for more articles like that.